Probably the most influential application is in the emerging markets right now. So for so long, biometrics have been border control, forensics, things in the to keep people out. What we are focused on and where we see biometrics is to really let people in. And that's where we see the emerging markets, the BRICS countries, Brazil, India, China, Russia, all have a lot of activities around biometrics to give their citizens an identity. And that's really quite exciting because those populations of users have not really had the means of taking out credit in the past. They haven't had the means of really participating in this kind of emergence of a digital and financial ecosystem, so to speak.
I think right now, for what's going on in the world, I think given that we are approaching 7 billion people, what India is doing with their UID program to ensure that access is granted and access is given to those disenfranchised 400 or 500 million people that have never been counted before. The fact that they're going to have access to banking, access to food, and you're going to take out the corruption that exists in any of those kind of entitlement programs. I think the application of the UID program in an area where you have 400 million disenfranchised people, think of the power of 400 million people. That's more than the population of the United States. And you're going to give those people power. Think of the smart people that exist there that are now going to take their ideas and move it forward just because the government knows who they are and the banks know who they are. They can now become somebody versus before they were just a number.
I think what really changed biometrics for the world was the use of biometrics on U.S. visit, where the premise wasn't security as the primary purpose, but rather to facilitate legitimate travel and trade while enhancing security and, most importantly, protecting the privacy of the individual using the biometrics. The idea being that value proposition helps benefit the person using it, and then they're more willing to do it. If they can get through a border gate faster or border clearance point faster because they're using biometrics, they're happy. So the same thing is in other countries and other places. As we look at border gates in Heathrow, the idea of being able to go through a gate faster while I'm standing in line for a long time not using biometrics, I'm going to use it because it gives me a benefit, and I'm going to willingly use it. And that's where biometrics will really thrive.
And I think the recent border crossing applications based on face recognition technology, where the face is already embedded in the passport you have, are very exciting. These projects have rolled out in Finland and Portugal, here in the UK, Australia, New Zealand. The good thing about that application is it doesn't require any specialized enrollment. Earlier border crossing projects, such as the Schiphol Travel Pass project in the early 90s, or the U.S. INS Pass project, or now even the Global Traveler project in the U.S., IRIS project here in the UK, have all required bespoke enrollments. You had to show up at an enrollment station, you had to give an enrollment, there had to be government enrollment operators, you had to make time and find the enrollment kiosk. The kiosk had to be maintained at the airport. These were all cost factors impacting not only the uptake but the final cost of the project. The idea of using the face already embedded on a passport that you have, such that no specialized enrollment is required, is really exciting to me, because it means some of these projects now at last may become cost effective. They may return in cost savings to the border agencies the cost of the system. That's good.
Well, the last couple of years have been essentially applications of security. Border control has been a significant driver, and we also cannot ignore the fact that the last few years, in fact the last 10 years, there has been significant interest in biometric applications for the warfighter. In the two theaters of operation in Iraq and in Afghanistan, we've seen military applications of biometrics. Those will begin to wind down. And so the social inclusion applications of the UID of the last 2 years, for example, have become the more and the most significant. And they're driving two things. They're driving enrollment systems, which is something that we did not imagine the scale of. For example, India is buying enrollment devices, live scan devices for fingerprints and iris cameras, in 1 year what the industry potentially sold in 15 years. And so enrollment for civil programs has become much larger than security and much larger than military applications, which drove us for the last, let's say, 7 years leading up to the UID program.